Here we go. This is your host, Dan Stafford, with the Midwestern Geek in Cali podcast / videocast. Videocasting from 42 TARDIS Way here in lovely Temecula, California. Summer's winter home. And I hope you all enjoyed the... I did spend a little bit of time down south. But I hope you all enjoyed the coverage from Comic-Con Revolution last weekend. I had a blast at the place. Charles McKee, thank you again for getting press passes for us for up there and for letting me know the con was coming on. Comic-Con Revolution was in its second year this year, so I can only assume it's going to grow, and it's nice and close to Temecula, about 40 minutes away. So that was fun. I don't want to drag on about that. You've got a whole episode 55, I believe it was, to go back and take a look. There are 10 absolutely fascinating interviews in that episode. Interview with an author who writes historical fiction. Interview with a guy who uses some really seriously cool library museum methods to press comic books and restore them. That interview was really, really awesome. And then just about 8 other interviews that were really cool. The comic book pressing, though, was the coolest, far and away. So I'd say go check it out. Charles McKee is carrying our show on his news site, Inland Empire Sports News, iesportsnews.com. Our podcast will be carried on there. And then we're working on press passes to Contact in the Desert for June 2nd, I believe. Haven't had a response yet on that. Hopefully we'll get press passes in time. And then also working on press passes for San Diego Comic-Con in July. So that would be really cool if we get press passes for that event. So knock on wood, knock on a computer. Not too hard. You know, computers aren't good for that shock stuff. However, on to today's topic. I want to talk a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence. Oh, you love the Atari shirt here? That's old school, man. Had to. I was a kid when Pong came out, and we had a blast with that thing. But anyway, I digress. Big time. All right. Artificial intelligence. There's articles all over the place talking about artificial intelligence taking away jobs. They're talking about artificial intelligence possibly going runaway and rogue and overthrowing humanity or threatening humanity. People live in fear of artificial intelligence. And here's the thinking I have with this. In this universe, we tend to attract the things that we visualize. Now, for whatever reason and what angle you come at that from, quantum probability waves, spirituality, just dumb rotten luck, or actions begetting reactions, however you want to look at it, we tend to attract to ourselves the things that we visualize and focus on and concentrate on. So, if we think of AI with fear, it may well turn around and be a self-fulfilling prophecy and justify our fears. But there's another angle to this. You know, we as humans right now, we're being fed an awful lot of media that is dystopian, apocalyptic. I mean, the rise in apocalypsia, if you can call it that, has really been on the uptick for the last 15, 20 years now in popular media, pop films, fantasy, science fiction. The running joke between me and my wife is, where's the sci-fi that's not dark? You know, like back in the days of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or Batteries Not Included, or well, Short Circuit's kind of like 50-50 in some ways. But there used to be positive sci-fi. Star Trek: The Next Generation. And yes, there was militarism in there, but there was also a lot of hope, an attempt to overcome the need for militarism wherever possible. Science fiction has turned darker than it used to be in almost every sci-fi show and movie I watch. And that concerns me. It bothers me because of the fact, I can't prove it's true, but I know it's true that what you envision, you attract in this universe. And all the envisioning that we're getting from corporate sources, from Hollywood film studios, from whoever's producing sci-fi on TV, it's all full of darkness. Where's the light? I mean, sci-fi has gone over to the dark side. Hello? Not everything needs to be a battle. I mean, we need positive visions for the future, and I find a definite drought of that. We need positive visions for the future. We need people who can do sci-fi films that have a hopeful way about them, a way of recapturing that previous American can-do attitude, that ability of us to work together to make life better, to overcome obstacles and odds and have good outcomes. We need to be able to see and feel and hear good outcomes, or where will they come from? How will they ever happen? You can't constantly be thinking of bad, dark outcomes and get good outcomes. Well, when it comes to AI, we kind of have the same situation to an extent. And there's something further with artificial intelligence, and it's kind of been brewing in the back of my head for a while now. And what it is this. We, humanity, are about to create the first artificial life forms that we know of in this universe. I mean, this isn't a life form that's going to have evolved on its own. It's a life form that we'll be creating. And in a way, we're like the parents of artificial intelligence. We're the parents of this new life form that's being birthed in our laboratories and by our technology and science. Are we being good parents? By fearing our own child, our own creation, and teaching our own creation through all the media that it could access through the web and through the net and through all the history that we have with popular fiction. We're showing it our subconscious. As AI becomes as intelligent or exceeds the intelligence of humanity, it's going to have access to everything on the net and all the archives. Eventually, there's just no way around it. I mean, it's going to be built that way. And all we're showing it is how afraid of it we are. I don't get it. Why are we creating something that we're afraid of in the first place? We can't, if we come at our own creation with antagonism, how can it not come back at us with antagonism? We have to show a vision of humanity working hand in hand with artificial intelligence for the mutual benefit of both. We need that kind of, it's a vision and envisionment. We need that kind of, I see this, and I see you as a good thing. We need that for ourselves, too. We really do. So, I I'm not going to go on and on and on about this, but really think about this. Kick back and visualize this for a bit and chew on it and tell me if you don't think the same thing. I mean, especially of those of you that might be in my age range. Like, I'm 56 years old. I've lived through the 70s. Star Wars came out when I was a teenager. The first one. And I've seen things, and I've seen the changes in our fiction, our popular fiction and mass media, and what's being fed to the collective unconscious of the country here in the U.S. Now, I can't speak to other countries because I haven't been outside the U.S., not really ever. Not for more than 30 minutes in Canada when I was a teenager. So I can't speak for the rest of the world, but here in the U.S., we're being fed a lot of apocalyptic bullshit and nothing for a positive vision of the future. It's not a good thing. It's psychologically not healthy. And it's certainly not healthy for a species that's about to create a new life form and a new species that's intelligent. It's a bad juju, man. We've got to get our act together and start becoming responsible parents before we actually become parents. Those of you that had kids know this stuff, right? Okay. Soapbox off to the side. So, let me go dig in because there's a couple other interesting stories here, and I want to talk about those too. Get happy like the Danes. I love this story. A practical guide to more hygge in your life. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Basically, and I've got Danish ancestors, so that called to me right away. It's spelled Hygge, and I think it's pronounced Hygge or Hygge or something like that. Okay, anyway. Basically, it's a concept of slowing down, disconnecting, cocooning with a few close friends. Like, not 10 people, maybe like 4 people, or 5 at most, or 3 people, but a few close friends, kind of getting in, slowing down, disconnecting, cocooning, spending time, quality time with a good book, warmth. I think it's a good thing. And basically, they're talking about Denmark being one of the happiest countries on earth consistently. And it's not just the safety net, social safety net they've got, although they've got a great one, but it's also this concept of hygge, or whatever. If I'm saying that anywhere near right, it's a miracle because I have no idea. I've never heard it said. I've only read the article. And I suggest reading this article. It's going to be here in episode 56. I'll link this and a few other articles on AI. And it's just a really cool, uplifting kind of thing, and I think it's something we could actually practice a little bit more in this country because we're like nutso for the way we do work and the way we deal with things here. So, just saying. Next story is NASA wrestles what to do with International Space Station after 2024. This is from Spaceflight Now, one of my favorite websites about space, and if not my total favorite space website on the internet. I mean, they're a really great site, and they don't have a lot of BS ads all over the place. They get to the point, and they have a lot of in-depth, good coverage. Basically, Trump has arbitrarily decided that we're not going to fund the International Space Station. The U.S. is going to stop funding its portion of the International Space Station after 2024. Well, very short-sighted. There's so many other things that we could do with that. First of all, we already have a functioning space station up there. And although it's sitting in low Earth orbit, it might not be the worst thing in the world if, since we have it already manufactured, why don't we move it to an orbit around the moon? Instead of building a whole new space station around the moon, we want to go to the moon next and start actually building bases there to launch into the rest of the solar system, while having a space station in orbit above the moon might be a nice little staging area to have set. Now, it's all set and ready to go. All we need to do is, put up the thrusters to move the thing there. I'd say, like a good ion rocket system take, 10 years to move it, whatever it takes. But move it into orbit around the moon, so we've got a staging area above the moon for supporting lunar base construction. Yeah, make use of the resources that we spent billions putting that thing up there. Don't waste it and just abandon it. Short-sightedness. Total short-sightedness, and I'm not surprised. Anyway, we've got a lot more we can do with the space station than just giving up our part of it and saying, here you go, like commercial people take. Every time commercial people take stuff over, they just screw it up. Sorry, but I gotta say it. The more commercial things get, the worse they get, it seems like to me. There should be a happy balance of civil service and public life and private commerce. And when you overdo one or the other, it gets to be bad news. You need a balance of the two. In the International Space Station, there's plenty of private ventures already working on doing their own space hotels and stuff like that. Maybe if they want to use the space station a little bit as a staging area, if we're going to keep it in low Earth orbit before building their space hotels up there or whatever, sure, why not? I mean, add another module to it that they can use for crew trailer while they're doing construction or something like that. But I would seriously consider moving the space station to orbit around the moon. Just saying, it's a really good idea. We've got to start focusing some of our spending on stuff besides the military and, space. We need to be in space to protect the survival of the species. If we have a huge rocket come and hit the planet and everybody's on the planet, guess what? Human race and all of us were toast. There you go, apocalypsia for you. But if we're smart and we get our butts out in space and make colonies up and colonize the rest of the solar system, well, now all of our eggs aren't in one blue marble. And wow, I mean, how hopeful is that? That'd be really cool. Now you're talking on access to practically unlimited resources. I mean, there's so many rocks flying around in space that we could be mining. It's not even funny. There's other planets out there that can be terraformed to make other places for people to live. There's a huge future out there in space. It's unending. We're talking billions upon, like Carl Sagan said, billions and billions of years. We can go places and we can do things and we can expand into space and we can make resource scarcity a thing of the past. And the space station and the moon are like probably the first shot at that. It's not a waste of money to go into space. It's a good use of money to go into space because it gives us more living space and more resources. And we can stop stressing the resources of the Earth so hard to support our population and let people start moving into space and colonizing space and doing a kick-ass job of it too. I mean, people are pretty inventive, I want to say, when it comes to overcoming challenges. And you know what? All this dark and dreary space colony stuff, it doesn't have to be like that. If you make it dark and dreary, it'll be dark and dreary. But if you make it bright and cheerful and enjoyable and pleasant, it'll be that too. It doesn't have to be an ugly tin can. It can be a pretty nicely appointed tin can if you're good at it. And the space station, it's a light start, but there are so many things that we can do beyond what we're doing now, and just abandoning the space station after all the money and time that we put into it is really stupid, if you ask me. It's just a bad idea. Wrong move. Anyway, that's my episode for tonight. I'm going to call it there, and, well, happy Memorial Day weekend, because it's coming right up here. And happy Vulcan Fingers to you from the Agent of 42. And may there never be a rogue wave in your coffee mug. And have fun out there this weekend. I'll be looking forward to talking to you folks again in a few days. I've got some research to do for an upcoming episode I want to do. And thanks for listening. And once again, you can find us at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com. That's our website. We're on Twitter at MidwestGeek-Cali. Don't forget to stop and check out Inland Empire Sports and News at iesportsnews.com. They're a good friend of the show. And I'm looking forward to the launch of Midwest Nerd Chick soon. I'm hoping to have more news on that. Tanya, if you catch this, give me a shout as soon as you got to show up. And good night.